my boyfriend sold his watch for like, and it was like just an Apple Watch. Like it wasn't even an expensive one. I got like £80 for it. We were like, yes, okay, now we can make it to Friday. Like we can get there.
Hello there, everyone. My name is Eddie John, and this is the Resilient Sagas podcast. Julia, we have met before.
Yeah.
We know each other quite well. I have met you here in London for the first time, and I've been to your place in Spain. For context, you are good friends with my girlfriend, and I know your boyfriend. So, Julia, tell us more about yourself for those who do not know who you are. Who is Julia?
Okay, so I'm, like you said, good friends with your girlfriend. We're both from Sweden, but we met here in London. I came to London in 2017 to go to university. I studied marketing here. And while I was studying, lockdown happened. So halfway through my uni, it was all online. Everyone I knew went back to live with their parents. And I was pretty much what felt like the only one left in London at the time. And it was an experience, but quite awful. But during that time, I started to seeing people working remotely online and working from Vietnam while I was stuck at home in London, couldn't even go out to take my dog out. And that's where the idea was born that that's what I want to do in my life. When I graduate, I'm going to have a job that allows me to work from anywhere and be free to go where I want, which is what I did. So now 4 years later, I run a marketing agency with my partner. We travel anywhere we want, and we've settled down in Spain, where you've come out to visit.
What made you want to come and study in the UK?
So I had actually already met my fiance. He's British, and we met while I was still living in Sweden. So I kind of had to move over here to be with him, and I knew I had to study something. Like I took quite a few gap years after I graduated college to figure out what I wanted to do. I think at that age you have so many ideas going around your head what you should do with your life. So for me, it was definitely right to wait a few years. I didn't start studying at uni until I was 24. Which probably was why I had a very different experience at uni than most people, but it was definitely right for me to take that time. But yeah, initially I moved here to be with my partner, and then it was just time for me to study then.
To my knowledge, I know that coming from Sweden myself, most universities in Sweden are free. Did you have to pay to study in the UK?
Yeah, I think all in all I have like £60,000 in loans, but yeah, chipping away at it.
And how does that feel, living a country that offers free education for a paid one?
I mean, for me, it didn't really matter because I feel like having a degree from London and having already studied in English opens a lot of doors that you wouldn't necessarily have if you did your degree back in Sweden. So it's not going to be right for everyone, but I always knew I wanted to move away from Sweden anyway, and I wanted to live abroad. So for me, it was a step in that direction, which I think it also made sense for me to do that. And the way I see it, with having huge loans for your degree, it's like the best investment you can make. It's opened so many doors for me, and ultimately I pay like a small fee every month, which I just feel like, okay, if my salary was this, it's actually this, because I wouldn't be here without the marketing degree anyway.
So college, how was your college like? What did you study in college? Because I know that you can choose to major in maybe a subject. Is it a subject or science or whatever?
That's
so
what
how
most
was
people
it like?
do. I did arts.
You did arts?
Yeah, I love to paint. That was like my thing. In school, I was like known to be really good at drawing. And I wanted to do something creative. Like I always want to have a career or have like in my spare time as well, like some creative outlets. So I did a arts degree, which then I thought, okay, there's no way to have a career in something that is creative. Like I didn't know that there was opportunities to combine the both, which I'm able to do in my job now. But at the time, it didn't feel like pursuing art was going to be worthwhile. So that's why I pivoted into marketing a few years later.
What would you say that impacted you the most from your childhood and something that you learned from up to date?
I think something that's shaped me a lot from my childhood is being the youngest of 3 siblings. I have 2 older brothers that and we're all very competitive, and they're always better at me than at everything, especially when it comes to sport. Like we're all very athletic, but I'll just never beat them. Like going skiing, they will go much faster than me, and I'm like the little sister, always trying to like catch up to them. And I think as well in school, when you have like siblings who maybe are like really high performing and doing really well, and you feel like you're not quite interested in the same things, and you're not quite as interested in doing your homework and stuff like that. I always felt like I'm different, and like my interests are different. I don't want to do stuff just because I'm told to do it. And when you're grown up, it's easy to think like, oh yeah, maybe I should be good at these things. I should just do what the teacher tells me, even though I don't think it's important. But now looking back, I'm like, I was always entrepreneurial. I always wanted to go my own way. So now I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that I would have my own business, because I always thought my ideas were much better. I should just be left to my own devices to do my thing.
I remember the last time that we met, you did tell me a story that you went through where you sold pretty much most of your belongings, and how your entrepreneurial journey started, how you just left Sweden for the UK and then UK abroad. What did you do to get to where you are now?
Okay, so I think the pivotal moment was when I had been living in England for 4 years, and I was just coming up to graduate. And me and my boyfriend were going on a walk around like Chelsea Harbour, and we were talking about what we were going to do. And I had an internship lined up in Sweden that I wanted to go and do. And we were talking about what we were going to do, or is he going to travel back and forth to see me, or what's going to happen. And then we just both realized the best thing would be if he just quit his job and came with me, and we'll give this business, we'll give it a go and try and get it off the ground. Like at the time we had like 1 client. I think we had like £180 a month coming in. But we thought like if we just had the chance to not treat this as a side hustle, but as an actual business, and give it our like full attention, we could really make it work. So that's basically what we did. In the span of a month, we had like gotten rid of the flats, sold everything we had, packed up everything. And I think we had 120 kilos of packing with us to Sweden, and the dog and everything else. But he came to live with me in Stockholm for the summer. And we were like already planning, like after the summer, we're going to go out to Asia and live there and work online like those people I'd seen during lockdown do. So basically it was like 2021. So it was very much like COVID times, right? You couldn't actually go to some of these countries in Asia.
True.
But we were in Stockholm, and they finally opened up the border in Thailand. And we were among like the first 100 people to come out to Thailand after it had been locked for like 2 years. But at the time we were like, that summer in Stockholm, we were struggling to like get clients. We didn't know what we were doing. Like in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, we didn't deserve any clients because we were shit. We didn't know what we were doing. And we got to the point where like, okay, we don't have much money to go out to Asia. Like, what are we going to do? Are we just going to forget about it because we can't actually afford it? Or should we just like take a leap of faith and just go? And before we went, or like, I always had a thing for like designer handbags, and I used to love that stuff. So, but one of the last things I did was to sell all my handbags, get them like valuated, and just get rid of them to put towards like our travel fund to get our business off the ground. And in August 2021, we got a one-way ticket to Thailand to get things off the ground, basically.
You also mentioned hitting rock bottom. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes. So like I said, we really didn't know what we were doing. We had all this potential, but we didn't have a system. And I think one thing that so many people that want to work online and want to have like that lifestyle and work for themselves don't realize, whether you're in marketing or a personal trainer, you are now in sales. Like, you are a salesperson. That's like your primary job, to get clients. You have to be good at sales. And we weren't, and we didn't realize that was going to be such a big part of what we did. So the first 2 months, we did a few things, but it was definitely going slow. It got to the point where we were like, we haven't got any money. We have like a few leads for clients, and a few things, like we were waiting for some invoices to come through. And I think my boyfriend sold his watch for like, and it was like just an Apple Watch. Like, it wasn't even an expensive one. I got like £80 for it. We were like, yes, okay, now we can make it to Friday. Like, we can get there. But we were at the point where like we didn't even have enough money to like travel back home. Like, we'd have to call our parents or something. And we're like, 27 years old, like a little bit too old to be calling your mom for help. But we were just so determined to make it work. And we really did work so hard that initial 3-4 months to get things off the ground. And yeah, we did.
How did hitting rock bottom in the first few months of your journey shape your perspective on resilience?
I think, we thought it was, this sounds so naive, but we didn't think it was going to be that hard. But it is definitely hard to start a business and get those first clients. If you get that off the ground, you get some momentum, you'll be fine. But yeah, you just need to have so much resilience at the beginning. And I think a huge thing is also your mindset. If you're going around thinking this is going to be really hard, I can't do this, it's never going to work. Like, you really need to have this crazy belief in yourself that like, I can do this, people should be paying me for my service, like I do provide value, which you just need to like pull out of thin air, because these are things you haven't done before, and you don't have like proof of concept to yourself that you can do these things, and no one's cheering you on. Like, you have to just go out on your own and yeah, make it happen.
I'm going to jump straight to the question. You have come a long way, and now the question is, how much are you making in revenue a month?
Oh, that's maybe it varies. One thing I will say, like, having had so much growth in the last year, we have been very good at investing back into the business. And that's something I believe so strongly in. I think a year ago I was thinking to myself, if I hit this figure, I'm going to buy myself this handbag and I'm going to do this. And now that I'm there, I'm like, I'm not buying shit. Okay. What can we invest in? How can we get better? And how can we offer a better service to our client? But every year we've tripled our sales. So the first year I had like £800 or something like that, and then we got to 30,000, and then we got to 90,000 last year and became VAT registered, which was a great milestone. And this year we're on track to make 150,000 in revenue.
Again, you have come a long way, and you have come to a point where now you need assistance. Can you tell me about that feeling? How does it feel like from hitting rock bottom to being able to hire someone to assist you?
Yeah, it's been incredible. So it's only in the last 6 months that I've started to gather a team. And that's like a completely different skill set to be able to manage people. I've had terrible managers in the past. So I'm very careful about how I treat the people I work with, and how to be a good manager, and how to get the best out of people that I work with. I think I'm very like forgiving to them. I'm like, I know everyone can have a shit day. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, it's been incredible. And I think one of the biggest bottlenecks in the business was thinking, I can just do everything myself, it will be quicker. Because you cannot scale that. You're stuck doing tasks that are probably better being outsourced. So a lot of the quick growth we've had in the last 6 months has been because other people are also supporting. I don't have to do every single task myself. And that means I can stay in my zone of genius, which is doing marketing and the strategy, while someone else will be like video editing, admin tasks, social media management, like someone to support with my sales and my branding and my website, which has been, a real like it's really helped grow the business so much in the last 6 months.
So now let's go to your challenges and influences. Could you discuss some of the specific challenges you faced during your transition to remote work and entrepreneurship?
Yes. So when I think anyone who works online or has the opportunity to work from a beach somewhere tropical, you really have to have so much resilience, but also just discipline to actually do your work. When I first went to Asia, everyone I was hanging out with was on holiday and going out every day and just enjoying the beach. But I always had to say, no, I can't, because I have to work. I'm here for work. And even though no one's going to check up on you to make sure that you are actually at work when you say you are, like, you need to motivate yourself and you need to have that discipline. That work always comes first, which was definitely a transition to get to that point. And as the business has grown, I've been much more careful with just keeping my mindset really good, like blocking out anything that is going to influence like how I perform at work the next day. So being very careful like how much alcohol I drink, cutting out carbs and caffeine and stuff like that. Although I did have a coffee here earlier. But little things like that, it is not for everyone, because I've seen, since I started, I've been posting a lot on my Instagram about my journey, and probably on my personal Instagram, it looks like, oh man, Julia is always at the beach and just out having a good time. But like 99% I'm always at work and I'm always working on my laptop, and that's what people don't see. I've had a few people reach out to me to ask like, oh, I want to do what you do, I want to work online. And some people have like gone out to do it and started like similar businesses, which after 3 months they are back in the job they had before, because they don't have that discipline to understand this is going to take longer than 3 months. 3 months you're going to flop, like you're going to be in your flop era. You probably have to give it a year of turning up on Instagram every single day, getting those 200 views and just like flopping because you haven't built an audience yet. You just need to keep at it, and that's going to take a long time to build up your network, to build up people knowing you, because you're not going to be able to get clients if they don't know you. And at the beginning they don't. Why should anyone work with you? And that's something that takes a long time to build up, and you definitely have to have that discipline.
What are some key lessons you learned from experiences of overcoming adversity building your business?
I think pivoting into becoming good at sales and being like really hot on building systems for my brand, I needed to have a system that's like rinse and repeat, that I can apply to every client, that just works when it comes to like the sales call. I have such a specific structure to how I do it, because I know that that's what works. And same with like my onboarding process, like it is so clear, and anyone that comes on board to work with me are like impressed straight away with the care and attention to detail I have right off the bat. And I think you need to set the tone like that early on with client relationships. Other hardships, I think understanding money management in a business has been a lesson. We, like I said, just became VAT registered and had to take on an accountant and figure out like what to pay and how much to put aside for tax. And that's just something that like no one really tells you how to do. So that's been a journey, but I will say get an accountant, because it's going to save you a lot of money in the long run.
Can you share some setbacks or obstacles that tested your resilience the most?
So I've had so many. I feel like it's always something when you're running a business that's like going wrong. Like it's a constant like putting out fires. When I first started my business, I was utilizing my own network to get clients, and at the moment I didn't know any e-com brands, which is what I work with now, but I did know a lot of marketing agency owners because I was in these like communities with them. And while a lot of people were going out right off the bat trying to sign clients, I felt like I wanted to get the experience first. So for the first 2 years, I did a lot of white labeling. So larger agencies who had more clients than what they could handle, they would like outsource the work to me, which was great because I managed to I got the experience that I wanted. I felt like I didn't want to go out and bullshit to client, that I knew what I was doing if I hadn't done it. So that was a great way to get that experience and to get really good at what I do before I went like directly to clients to say you should hire me. And I always thought that was like a safer approach. So last year I was working primarily, like 90% of my income was coming from this one agency who I had like 15 accounts for. And we got to a point where they wanted me to be their head of paid social and manage their team for them, to a point where they could take a step back and not work in the business anymore. And then things came up where we just couldn't see eye to eye on things. And I was working like crazy to get this to work, but it just wouldn't. And I was raising like concerns to say like, this isn't working, what should I do? And they turned around and just fired me on the day, and they were like, you're out, like you don't even get to say bye to the people, like the clients you had for the last year. Your email's gone, you're off the Slack channel, like you're gone.
Wow.
And I was so shocked. I was managing like 80% of their whole business revenue, and they just took me off it straight away. And I think it took me a good month to like bounce back from that. It was definitely like a lot of time to spend in bed watching TV and being like, what am I gonna do now? Because I just booked like a really expensive trip to Tulum like right before. I was like, great, I just lost my fucking job. But that's when I realized, you know what, I knew more about paid social than those agency owners. That's why they wanted me in that spot in the first place. And I was like, I should just go at this by myself because I have nothing more to learn from other people. I know this much better than anyone that I had worked with in the past. So that's when I took like the leap of faith to just have clients sign directly with me instead. And I could offer them a much better price and a much better service because I wasn't handling 15 accounts anymore. Like now I have 5 clients and that's all that I need. And that's when I started like taking my own Instagram more seriously and building it up and sorting out my own branding and all those things.
And did you ever get to go to, is it Tulum?
Yeah, of course. We were there for 5 weeks. Yeah.
Tell me the experience and how it felt to finally be there.
It was great. So we had been wanting to go there for a really long time. And yeah, it's like one of those places you see like everyone go to on Instagram. And we had like a bit of a tour. So we went to Mexico City, Oaxaca, and then to Tulum. But I would say that's like the beach is great, but I probably wouldn't go back to Tulum again. It's not all that. I think I'm more like an Asia kind of girl, to be honest. So
inspiration and motivation, who or what inspires you to continue growing and push your boundaries today? I think what inspires me the most is actually the network of business owners that I've met online. I only work with women. I only work with women who are like in their 20s, 30s, who've built incredible brands. Like some of them are my clients, but they've literally built brands who are making like millions from having no experience, but just having a passion and having something that they truly believe in. I think that's so inspiring. And I think to myself so often that I can't believe I get to work with these people who have this amazing brands and amazing businesses. And that's what it inspires me to, keep going and wanting to do the same. Do you have any advice for aspiring individuals who maybe want to do something similar? And by the way, don't give up. And do you have any advice for those who are looking to?
I think you need to be very resilient for sure. But I think, you just need to never give up. I saw a quote in the beginning of my journey where it said like the only thing that separates like really successful people from the ones who aren't are that those people just never gave up. Even if they fell down 50 times, they just kept at it, where most people fell down twice and then stop. This is too hard, I'm not going to try anymore. So you just need to have such unlimited belief in yourself that it is going to work. And yeah, and I think also just working on your mindset has been a huge shift for me. Like a couple of years ago, if I had, like, just as an example, a few years ago, if I had a client or someone that I was like a warm lead, like we might be doing business together. If that fell through, I would have been really upset and wonder like what happened, like why didn't it work? I might have messaged them again to ask like what's going on. And now I don't do that anymore. I don't chase, I attract. And I feel like whatever is meant to be is gonna be. Like if it was right, they would have signed up already. And if it's not, it's not. Like I don't stress over that. There's other people gonna come, and I feel like in a month's time, I might be like, oh, I'm glad that didn't work out because someone much better came along. So having that mindset and that attitude has really helped.
And where can people find you in your social media accounts?
Yes, my Instagram and my TikTok are both Julia at julia.alwaysonline, and my agency is called Always Online Agency.
Thank you so much, Julia, for joining the Resilient Sagas podcast. It was lovely chatting with you, and we have a few more things to go through. I haven't asked you all the questions, and hopefully next time you come back to London or I come to Spain,
yeah,
we can have a chat, or we can have a sit and chat more. Thank you so much, Julia.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.